All right, so starting off, this and the one from the video before it are all from Fourth Wave Apparel on Etsy. And our first badass Alaskan woman of the day is, and I'm sorry if I totally butcher this, Mary Forgill Lowell. Mary was born in 1855. Her dad was Russian. Her mom was Alaska Native. She grew up in the Russian fur trading station that is now known as Nanwalek on the southern tip of the Kenai Peninsula. Mary lived in a time of rapid change. She was taught the traditional subsistence practices of Alaska Natives. Born into a Russian-occupied Alaska, she then continued her life into the transition between the Russian and American occupation of Alaska. She married at the age of 15 to a white man named Frank Lowell. Frank was a fur trader and an entrepreneur from a prominent family from Maine. The two of them had 9 children together. Sometime between 1883 and 1884, they moved to Resurrection Bay, which at the time was very rural and still very wild. They set up a trade station and provided transportation to travelers with their schooner. The family's financial stability dwindled as the fur trade hit a steep decline. In 1892, Frank left the family and moved several hundred miles away to another part of the Kenai Peninsula where he could continue his fur trade. Mary would not leave her land. She and 6 of her children stayed behind. Her traditional lifestyle that she had learned as a child served her family well. Through hunting, fishing, and cultivating a very large garden, they lived the homestead life. Shortly before Mary's death in 1906, the land that they owned became highly coveted. In 1906, she sold her land to the founders of what is now the town of Seward. Here is a picture of Mary and her family. 2 of her children that stayed with her were Alice and Eva. Mount Eva and Mount Alice were both named after Mary's daughters. But it took 113 years after Mary's death. On June 16th, 2019, the U.S. Board of Geographic Names dubbed the South Peak of Mount Alice, again, named after Mary's daughter, Mount Mary, after Mary. So Alice, Eva, and Mary all overlook the town of Seward today. Mary said, "I don't need a man." This badass woman of Alaska history took it all on by herself, and they thrived. If you liked the art pieces, don't forget to check out Fourth Wave Apparel. I get literally nothing from this. They probably don't even know I exist. Found them through a Google search. It's also in my bio. Sticking it to the clock. All right, we're back with episode 2 of Badass Women of Alaska History with this beautiful piece here by Your Best Sanctuary. You can find them on their own website or on Etsy. And we are going to be talking about Ada Blackjack. Ada was born in 1898 and died in 1983. Ada was an Inupiaq woman who was the sole survivor of a failed Arctic expedition to the island of Wrangell. She was born in a small village southeast of Nome. At 16, she married a dog musher, and together they had 3 children. Her husband abandoned the family in 1921, leaving Ada all alone with their one surviving son, Billy, who had tuberculosis. When her husband left, Ada walked 40 miles to Nome with Billy, and upon finding out that she could not financially care for her son's tuberculosis medication needs, she made the very difficult decision to put him in an orphanage. In September of 1921, she was recruited as a seamstress on this Arctic expedition to Wrangell Island. She was promised a $50 a month salary, told she would not be the only Alaska Native person or woman on the expedition. Disheartening, but not surprising, these were all lies. In 1922, a resupply ship failed to arrive, and the expedition's supplies and provisions got dangerously low. 3 of the 4 men on the expedition left to go see if they could find help, and they never returned. The 4th man was sick with scurvy, and Ada cared with him until he died in June of that year. Ada was now alone on the island. Her only company was the expedition cat named Vic. Ada trapped, picked roots, hauled wood, made her own clothing, and even defended her camp from polar bears. She was rescued in August of 1923. Despite the immense amount of press attention her story got, Ada was never fully compensated for the wages she was promised. She also made 0 profits off of the books and stories and other things that were made talking about her survival and her harrowing experience. This is an incredibly resilient woman. And on a happy note, she did reunite with her son Billy, and they moved to Seattle where they could afford his tuberculosis medication. I hope you enjoyed learning about Ada Blackjack, another of Alaska's badass women from history. Don't forget to check out Your Best Sanctuary. You know where to find the link. And again, I get nothing from this other than the pure satisfaction of sticking it to the man and the clock app. So enjoy. Welcome to episode 3 of Badass Women in Alaska History. The art featured behind me can be found at Anything Project on Etsy, and there's a link, you know where. If they're on TikTok, I will also tag them down below. And now our woman of the day, Bessie Couture. Bessie was born in 1869 in Virginia and is the first known Black business owner in Alaska. In her lifetime, she operated 2 different restaurants. The first, located in Skagway, Alaska, known as The Kitchen, ran during the Klondike Gold Rush between 1897 and 1900. Bessie was married 3 times in her life. Her first marriage ended in divorce, her second in tragedy. Her second husband, a man named A.W. Kendall, was one of the 360 people lost in the tragedy of the shipwreck of the Princess Sophia ship in October of 1918. You're so cute, you make it hard to say no to you. You know that, right? Bessie's third husband was a French-Canadian man named William Couture that she married in 1920. The Broadway restaurant and bakery that was operated in the 1920s with Bessie and her husband William was also located in Skagway, Alaska. In the Skagway census of 1930 and 1940, Bessie was listed as both the head of the household and as owning her own home, and that second one was very rare for Black women at the time, so that's pretty dang impressive. As Bessie got older, she divided her time between Alaska and Seattle, and she died in Seattle at the age of 90 on April 29th, 1959. Unfortunately, not a lot is known about Bessie or her history, and only 2 known photos exist of her. But she is definitely one badass Alaskan woman who should not be forgotten and should be celebrated. And again, if you're interested in buying some candles, Anything Project sells these on Etsy. And once again, I get absolutely nothing from this other than sticking it to the man. This is my chaotic good, supporting small businesses and teaching history about women in Alaska. I hope you loved learning about Bessie Couture as much as I did, and stick around because I will continue to do this until I run out of women to talk about. So stay tuned for part 4. Hello and welcome to another episode of Badass Women of Alaska History. Today we're featuring art by Felt Melons. And they are retiring spring of 2020, so this may be your last chance to get these awesome ornaments. If they're on TikTok, I'll put them down below. If they're not, check out, you know where. And today's badass woman of the day is Maddie Tootsie Crosby. Maddie was born in Maine in 1884. She moved to Alaska with her adopted family in the early 1900s. After briefly living in Skagway, she hiked the Chilkoot Trail to Dawson City. In 1910, Maddie moved even further north to Iditarod, Alaska. She was described as a tenacious and astute businesswoman. Not only did she work as a lady of the night and madam, Maddie had several business ventures, including hauling supplies by boat and dog teams, operating a boarding house for miners and sled dog mushers, prospecting, catering. She even established a bathhouse and brothel called the Crosby, and also engaged in bootlegging during Prohibition. She did do a little bit of time for that one in 1925. After her release, she moved to Flat, Alaska, and she lived in Flat for the next 40 years. Flat was the largest mining camp in the Iditarod mining district around 1910. She mined and had several side businesses, including Tootsie's Tavern, renowned for its food, music, and atmosphere. Remains of Maddie's properties can still be seen in Flat today. Maddie passed at the Fairbanks Pioneer Home in 1972. She was a true woman of the gold rush in Alaska. And quite the badass. Don't forget to check out Felt Melons on Etsy. I hope you enjoyed learning about Maddie as much as I did. Thanks for watching. Welcome to another episode of Badass Women in Alaska History. Since we're still in the middle of a global panini, today's art is this beautiful mask. You can find it at Sweet Juno on Etsy, or, excuse me, you know where. And as always, if the artist is on the app, I will tag them down below. Today's Badass Alaskan Woman of the Day is Marvel Crossan. Marvel was born in Warsaw, Indiana in 1900. As children, she and her brother Joe had dreams of flying. In the early 1900s, she and her brother Joe jointly purchased, rebuilt, and restored their first plane, an N9. Marvel moved to Alaska in 1925 and became the first licensed female pilot in Alaska. Marvel is considered to be a pioneer of aviation. After receiving her commercial license, she moved from Alaska and broke many records, including altitude records. During the inaugural Women's Air Derby in California in August of 1929, Marvel's plane crashed, and unfortunately, the crash was fatal. Marvel was inducted into Alaska's Women's Hall of Fame in 2011. Though her life was cut short, she was definitely a badass woman of Alaska history. I hope you enjoyed learning about Marvel. Don't forget to check out Sweet Juno for this sweet mask. Thanks for watching!